Morning. Good morning, everyone. We're going to call the Ramsey County Board of March 22nd, 2022 to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Carter.
Here.
Bretham.
Here.
McDonough. Here. McGuire.
Here.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Castillo.
Here. We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I'll turn to Commissioner Fretham for our land acknowledgement.
Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We are standing on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people. We want to acknowledge the Ojibwe, the Ho-Chunk, and the other nations of people who also called this place home. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the treaties made by the tribal nations that entitle non-Native people to live and work on traditional Native lands. Consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events.
Thank you, Commissioner Fretham. We have the agenda of March 22nd, 2022 presented for approval.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Bretham.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye.
Castillo.
Aye. We have the minutes from March 15th, 2022 presented for approval.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Bretham.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye.
Castillo.
Aye. Commissioner Carter is going to step away. She's representing us this morning at a press conference with Congresswoman McCollum and Attorney John Choi around the funds received from the federal on group violence intervention as well. So she's going to step away for a moment. We will move into our ordinance procedures. This morning we have a proposed community and economic development ordinance, and we are going to waive the second reading. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bretham.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Castillo.
Aye. We're now going to move to proposed community and economic development ordinance, hold of public hearing. There is no vote taken for the public hearing today. The public hearing on the proposed community and economic development department ordinance is now open. The purpose of the meeting is to allow the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed community and economic development department ordinance. For those who are here to speak at the public hearing in person or via Zoom, when you're called to speak, please state your name and city of residence before making your comment. You will have a limit of 3 minutes to give your testimony. We currently do not have a list of anyone signed up to testify either on Zoom or in person, but if there is anyone here who would like to testify, you may step forward now. All right. Just moving through my script. Anyone here to testify for the public hearing? Is there anyone here to testify for the public hearing? All right. Well, I will declare the public hearing now closed. Right. And we can move on to our administrative items. Commissioner Fretham.
Yes, I would like to move item 5, terms of collective bargaining agreement with International Union of Operating Engineers Local 70 for the years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Item 6, withdrawal of the joint powers agreement with Metro Alliance for Healthy Families. I'll pull that. Item number 7, revised project budget and financing plan for Battle Creek Winter Recreation Area.
Pull.
Item 8, 2022 Annual Operating Grant Agreement with Metropolitan Council for Transitway Service. And item number 9, closed meeting for bargaining update.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We're moving items number 6, 8, and 9 at this time.
5, 8, and 9.
Sorry, 5, 8, and 9. You're right. Thank you. All right, any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Grethen,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Mattis Castillo.
Aye. All right, we'll move back to the withdrawal of the joint powers agreement with Metro Alliance for Healthy Families. Commissioner Fretham?
Yeah, I'd like to move item 6.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
I just wanted to note with this that Ramsey County is not foregoing home visiting with this withdrawal. We're moving to a new model, a mesh model, which is an easier model to implement that provides more universal services. It has lower costs, and so we hope to be able to serve more families with this. It is hard to step away from Metro Alliance for Healthy Families because the counties involved have been working together for so long on home visiting. But I'm really excited about this new model, and I think it is going to be better for Ramsey County and Ramsey County families, and many of the other Metro Alliance for Healthy Families jurisdictions are going to be adopting this same model. So just want to note that even though we are withdrawing, we are still committed to home visiting and just moving in a new direction.
Thank you, Commissioner Fretham, for that added information. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Grethen,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Mattis Castillo.
Aye. We'll move to the revised project budget and finance plan for Battle Creek Winter Rec Area.
Move approval.
I'll move it.
All right, a
Second.
motion and a second. Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just want to take a moment. I look back, the first meeting I had on this was 12 years ago with community members. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize many times even I was willing to move on because it just seemed like we weren't going to be able to pull this together. And recognize the community, and not only for them sticking with us on this, but many times for them leading and helping us get this across the finish line. You know, when they first came, and 12 years ago, they really highlighted the fact of a lack of investment like this that can accommodate and be available for East Metro folks. And it's taken 12 years, and the last thing I'll say is I can remember being up at the Capitol for testifying in Senate Capital Investment Committee, and there was a Somali dad with his 3 daughters there, and talked about the experience of his daughters learning how to ski during a snowstorm. And the instructor was there also and shared how his daughters were just having so much fun trying to learn how to ski in this snowstorm, and their dad running alongside of them in the snowbank. And so I look forward to this investment. Parks and Rec has done a nice job responding to the community. This really came up through the community, and we've been able to help support that. So with that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Reinhardt.
Well, and this has truly been a Ramsey County-wide effort. Yeah, it's been at least that long that we've been talking about this, and how many times have we taken it to the legislature? I know that there were leaders from my district that brought it forward. Maplewood has been very supportive of it. And in fact, at one point, I think they had offered up some money, but I think that was such a long time ago, and what we were looking at then was a lot smaller than that. And I know, Commissioner McGuire, I know you have your hand up, and there were folks in your district that really took a lead in this as well. So it's really great when we can see communities working together for the East Metro. And it is something that it is an amenity that will really live on for a long, long time. And I'm not a skier, although maybe I'll become one with new knees here. But it's such a great thing for all ages.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm grateful that you pulled this, Commissioner McDonough, just so we could celebrate that we're this far along. And I just commend this board for starting this before I got on board. And then it just continuing on with this effort, it did take the community to really, and sometimes lead, as you said, because we were saying, well, is this really going to happen? And give our community members so much credit for that. And actually, I want to give our Parks Department a lot of credit too, because they hung in there with us as well. Some of my favorite stories, and we all have them, was when we had many visits to our Battle Creek Recreation area with the legislature. And of course, one of them was where we didn't have any snow, and they were doing one of the schools, because the schools were a huge part of this effort to get this area. And they were hiking up and down the hill with their ski poles without snow. And so it was just so obvious that, you know, the practice and the ability to really have winter sports was dependent on the efforts of this work and of our snowmaking, of our ability to have an area that's usable more often. And it'll help us with economic development, because we are now able to we're going to be able to have events there where, unbeknownst to a lot of people, you can't hold an event unless you're guaranteed snow. And even in Minnesota, there's no guarantee unless you have snowmaking. So we have many areas in the West Metro that do this, and we're grateful to have this one now coming to fruition, and just grateful to this board, to our Parks Department, and to the community and the schools for all of their effort.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Listening to you, Commissioner McGuire, brought up a memory that I'll never get out of my mind. Because, as you say, there's many of them, and actually in today's Star Trib, there's an article that recognizes the partnership we have with Senator Senjum on our homeless work here with the Continuum of Care Ask. But I can remember when we brought the Senate Capital Investment Committee out there for a bus tour, and Senator Senjum decided he wanted to slide down the hill. And I think he really got staff pretty nervous, because it's a pretty big hill, and there wasn't a lot of snow, and it was very icy because it got used a lot. But Senator Senjum started at the top, and he made it down to the bottom, and he had a smile the whole way.
That's a great story. Thank you, Commissioner McDonough.
Did you get it on video?
Yeah, I did, but I'm sure somebody might have. But I don't know if it was a staff. I think they had the phone on with 911, right, ready to go if something disastrous happened. So.
And Madam Chair, of course,
Yes.
Since he did, I had to do it too, and I was scared, even though I'm a skier and I do these kinds of things. But we were on little sleds, and it was quite the effort. But it was it was great.
Well, I'm glad we'll actually have snow to make it a little safer
exactly.
now. All right, no other discussion. We will take a roll call.
Betham,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega. Reinhardt,
Aye.
Mattis Castillo.
Aye. And now we'll move to our legislative update. Nice intro there, mentioning Senator Senjum. We'll turn it over to Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just gonna let's see. So this week is our deadline. So all the policy bills have the first deadline. So our policy bills need to make it through one committee or the other, either House or the Senate. And so they, unless they're in the bonding bill, which of course we're really working hard on, they need to be in one of these bills. So our Community of Care Ask, which is for our housing stability work, has made deadline in the Senate, and we're scheduled in the House, but we've made deadline in those bills, so that's great. I want to thank all of you who've been continuing to testify. I know that many of you have been down at the Capitol on the county's behalf, really making our case for all the important work that we're doing on especially on housing and on bonding bills. So. Senator Aaron Murphy, is introducing legislation developed in coordination with the Violence Reduction Leadership Group in an effort that involves representatives from cities, counties, sheriff's office, and the county attorney's office. This legislation provides funding to support the development of a small number of culturally specific, community-based
in treatment homes for youth involved in the criminal justice system. So Commissioner Mattis Castillo has been a part of this leadership group with Commissioner Carter, and if you would like to say anything else on that, I'd really welcome your input on that. Commissioner Mattis Castillo, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I'll just say in mine, and then I'll let you go. There's been a lot of press with the earmarks and community-supported projects. Stories in the press now that the president has signed the budget bill. This is at the federal level, and soon we'll be asked by our senators and Representative McCollum's office to forward ideas for the 2023 budget. So it just keeps moving. So thank you for that, Madam Chair, and I ask for your input on the violence reduction group.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner McGuire. As you all know, County Attorney Choi has put together a group for the last year that has been meeting around group violence and kind of where we at, what do we need to do to curb the amount of violence that's happening in our community and the increase in crime. And out of that group was a robust discussion of what we actually need to do and correction of some misinformation. A lot of times it gets pointed back to the closure of Totem Town, and I think we are all firm in where we are on that and the facts and what we actually need for youth, and that's intensive treatment homes. We stood up as a county 2 intensive treatment homes already after the closure of Boys Totem Town, but there is a suggested need that there could be more, and so this bill would actually go to fund additional intensive treatment homes for our youth to make sure that we have adequate and appropriate, culturally appropriate spaces for youth. And so that's kind of, I don't know if the county manager wants to add anything to that, but that's what that bill would be. There isn't currently a companion in the House. Senator Murphy is introducing it in the Senate.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Members, I'll just add that for every dollar, so there's approximately the need for another 25 intensive treatment home beds in Ramsey County to fulfill the vision that was set forth a few years ago as a part of our deep end reform work and the closing of Boys Totem Town, which is to keep young people in community whenever possible. And we continue to see about 20 to 25 young people at any given time who are placed outside of our community based on a lack of appropriate treatment options. And I'll even say the place where they're being placed outside of here are not fully appropriate. They remain too incarceration specific in the way they've been designed, much like Boys Totem Town. Alongside that, though, what's important is also the continued focus to build up supports for reentry into community and the idea of continuing to support family stabilization in community whenever possible to avoid the need for any sort of out-of-home displacement. And the bill as written actually puts $2 into that effort for every dollar put into standing up intensive treatment homes, which I think is a really important piece to the work. Commissioner Carter, who's not here, but is one of the JDAI, Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative tri-chairs, has also spoken there, and there's the continued emphasis on the need to remember to invest in the rest of the system and not overbuild out-of-home displacement beds as the way to address what are broader issues that often come down to housing instability, school, food insecurity, et cetera. So it's really an attempt to be holistic in the approach and continue to move forward on the county's vision. I do appreciate leaders from across the region coming together as a part of that, including the board. The chair and I were at a meeting last week with some of the leaders in the House where we were able to describe this investment effort as well in hopes that there'll be additional support there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you. I think, oftentimes we do refer to them as beds, and when the public is listening, it makes it sound like it's just some place to put someone.
That's right.
And that's really not what we're talking about here. We're talking about we're talking about changing the trajectory of a young person's life.
That's right.
And, when you think about jail or you think about incarceration, it's mostly associated with punishment. When in fact, even as adults, what we should be trying to do is to give people the right tools so that they don't end up feeling desperate and doing things that are against the law. But for kids especially, we have more hope there than we have anywhere else. And we do know that not only does it save lives, it saves families, it saves victims and their families. It also saves money. And, you know, sometimes you have to look at that. And as a governmental entity, we can use those funds to try to save someone rather than just punish them. And so when we talk about beds and crime prevention and changing a person's life, that's what these beds represent. Because it's the reentry. It's all of the things that you need to do to get somebody on the right track. And so, as you know, this is something I've worked on for a long time. And I just feel very pleased with the fact that we are really trying to focus in on that now. And look to the future, a brighter future.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. Commissioner McDonough.
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair. Appreciate all the comments and the work that's been done and the comments from everybody here. But I did want to take a moment to add to this, because I think this is one of the key pieces, right? There is fear in our community, and I want to acknowledge that. And there are events that are happening in our community that make people feel unsafe. Mm-hmm. And when it happens to you or to a loved one or to a neighbor, it's traumatic. Mm-hmm. And acknowledging that is really important. But to really ask the community to really help them understand that Boys Totem Town was open for 100 years. And certainly we had some successes there. But the fact is, as Commissioner Reinhardt pointed out, many of those kids became our $2 million person, mm-hmm. right? It became the revolving door, got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper with no impact. And for the most part, really did not change the public safety that was, or what was going on in our community that was driving this fear and trauma. And so we've got to do something different. We can't keep doing this same thing the same way and expect different results. And I think the folks around the table, the work we've been doing, is an approach that really wants to intervene with these kids. The intention is to make the community safer, but it's also to be able to intervene and change that direction so we have less $2 million people out there. Mm-hmm. And we actually move the needle on how safe our communities are. And so to the public, I ask, educate yourself and really take a moment, because it's really easy to move to that quick response of just lock them up. I don't want to see them in my community. I'm afraid of them. And that response has not worked and has actually caused more harm to individuals, in particular kids, but it still continues to cause harm and trauma in our community, and we've got to do something different. So, taking a moment, stepping back, I like to say, get up on the balcony here a little bit, and the public needs to do that with us, mm-hmm. because it's just, it's so important that they have confidence that the work we're doing, being led by Commissioner Carter, Attorney John Choi, so many folks, the work that we're doing with the legislature here, really can have a difference. And the public can be a part of helping us be successful in that. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. I just want to also add on the legislative update, our Continuum of Care ask continues to move forward at the legislature. We had a meeting yesterday with Representative Albright. He has signed on in the House as the first Republican to sign onto the bill, was very strongly supportive, immediately signed on during our meeting, in fact, and is committed to working to get other Republicans on the bill, and was really supportive in the strong investment that we've made upstream as well on affordable housing and recognizing this kind of need in this gap to bridge us from shelter to permanent solutions. And so we continue to move, but we need to continue to put the pressure on. So I ask you all to continue to keep the pressure on. This is critical for our success here as a county, but also to keep our shelter and our families safe through the year. Commissioner Reinhardt.
And on another note, in the environmental area, I did testify again regarding the Pig's Eye landfill and the task force that's been proposed, this time in the Senate, Senator Fong He. In the House, it's Representative Jay Zhang. And it received really good comments across the board in both the House and the Senate. And in fact, I am a member of the Clean Water Council, and the Clean Water Council took a position on it, as did the Partnership on Waste and Energy and the Recycling and Energy Board. And Senator Rude, who chairs the committee in the Senate, is on the Clean Water Council as well, and she commented on this particular piece of legislation and the fact that I had testified and done a good job. But I think that, the fact of the matter is, as we've talked before, it's a problem that's really big and has been just we've walked around the edges of it, but we really need to get a good feel for, okay, what is in the land there and what is going into the Mississippi River. It's right on the floodplain. And we've got Congresswoman McCollum and from the state legislators. We've got a lot of support for really tackling this and not just looking at it some more, just trying to figure out what can we do and coming up with a plan to actually address it. And ultimately we are talking a lot of money. But that's how come we need to know what we're doing instead of just saying, oh, well, we know what we found there 20 years ago. Well, 20 years ago, we didn't talk about PFAS and PFOS. And there's other things as well, the forever chemicals that we need to deal with. So it was a really good hearing, and I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. All right, moving on to County Connections. County Manager O'Connor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. 2 updates today. I'm going to invite Director Holly up to help on the first update as it relates to COVID updates. We don't have COVID updates on the agenda in the same way moving forward at this point, as we're sitting in a low-risk time. That'll change as the situation around us changes. That being said, when there are pieces of the moving puzzle here that remain relevant to understanding the continued response to COVID, Director Holly is a standing guest right now as a part of County Connection. So I'm going to turn it over to her to share a few updates, particularly at the federal level this week.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager O'Connor. As County Manager O'Connor mentioned, as of today, Ramsey County continues to remain at our community level being low. When our community level is low, I just want to remind everyone the CDC recommends that we stay up to date with our COVID-19 vaccines and to get tested if you have symptoms. As of yesterday, CDC reports Ramsey County at 52.7 cases per 100,000 and a weekly positivity rate at 2.58% among those using a laboratory confirmed test. Wastewater data from the Metro Council now confirms that the BA2 subvariant of Omicron is making up an increasing number of our local cases. Of course, we'll continue to monitor cases closely as we see things change over time. For vaccines, good news is we're still sitting at 81.2% of people in Ramsey County having received 1 dose of vaccine, with parts of our county still below 75%. So we want to see that number increase. We're still urging people, as we've mentioned here before, to get vaccinated and boosted when eligible. You can get your second dose or booster right here in Ramsey County at one of our clinics, even if you got your first dose somewhere else. We're still waiting for under 5 vaccines to be approved, so more information hopefully soon on that. During the past week, 132 doses were administered through 5 COVID-19 vaccine clinics across, and also across our existing client services. For the week of March 20th through the 26th, we expect to administer around 150 doses of vaccine. I want to continue to also encourage everyone to seek testing. And if you travel, please test 5 days after returning, even if you had a test before getting on a plane. We know folks may be traveling for spring break or for various reasons. In other news today, we are disappointed by Congress's decision to reduce federal COVID-19 funding, and therefore the reduction to access to testing could occur. Monoclonal antibody treatments, insurance reimbursement, and global vaccine distribution could be heavily impacted by this decision at Congress. The Minnesota House has brought forward, good news, a state bill with this work appropriating $9 million annually for public health emergency preparedness. This bill would commit the state funding to address public health emergencies and provide ongoing protection to our residents. And of course, we'll continue to be following that one very closely. Our hope is that we will have more information from our state partners at MDH this week or in the coming days about the impact of the federal funding decision and any ongoing legislation to ensure that we can sustain our ongoing COVID response at the local level. Thank you, and happy spring.
Thank you, Director Holly. And
You're
if I could
welcome.
ask you to share the letter that you shared with me late yesterday, it just outlines a bit more on the federal, what's at risk. Funding level is reduced. I think it's a good reminder for everybody to get to see.
Thank you.
One other update today I wanted to share.
Commissioner
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Reinhardt.
I just wanted to comment. I think back, maybe today, Commissioner McDonough, is the day for memories that go way back, right? And when
It's a good day when memories are working, because it's not always the case for me anymore.
But it just reminds me with the appropriation for emergency preparedness and in public health, I remember when we had SARS and there were a couple of other things and it was going to be, okay, this is a pandemic. Nope, it wasn't. And the bird flu, I mean, all the different things. But I remember Judd Freed standing up and saying, a pandemic, it's not if, it's when. And being prepared. And I don't know exactly how, well, we've learned a lot, I guess is what it comes down to, because we all think, okay, this is a once in a lifetime thing, but the fact of the matter is, we've learned a lot, and now we need to put it into action as far as what might be coming next so that we can avert something. But I still remember that. Yeah. It's not if. It's like,
Thank you, County Manager.
Along some good feedback that we received this week from the Brookings Institution, who they're working with us on a broader level as they track communities across the country and their spending around ARPA funding, and are working to display that information in a way that helps anybody understand how the money is being invested. Brookings talked about how impressed they were with both the work of what we're doing and how we're doing it, commenting on the innovation in our programs and the transparent approach to making the use of these dollars as public as possible. And then looking at counties across the country, Brookings reported that it was just great to hear that this commitment to transparency and strategic uses of ARPA dollars is something that is worth calling out and is not necessarily consistent everywhere else that they're looking. So I wanted to give that feedback. It's an extremely challenging piece to be allocating $106 million across having a regular budget and after the CARES money, and for anyone who is paying attention who hasn't been paying, that involves the biggest prioritizations: $37 million toward affordable housing, $16 million towards violence prevention, a little over $10 million towards workforce supports, and another $20 million to support a budget that otherwise could not have provided service at the level that it has through this biennium. And those together take up 8 out of every $10 the county was allocated through ARPA, not even looking at the Tier 1 emergency uses. Speaking of Tier 1, I'll conclude by saying welcome back to the Phase 1 employees for return to office. It's this week that the first tranche of employees are coming back under the new flexible workplace policy. It takes flexibility and learning as we go, and at the same time have gotten to see lots of optimism and smiles, and some people that you've seen on Zoom a lot but not seen in person for 2 years. It's a pretty neat experience to see, and I want to acknowledge for some people it's a scary moment too, and it can be pretty upending as we're all learning to navigate in a world that now involves COVID being a part of our lives. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, County Manager O'Connor. I think the withdrawal from our pets being in our workplace might be something else to address as we move forward as well. I'll miss seeing so many cats and dogs on meetings. We're going to move now to our outside board and committee reports, and we're going to start with Commissioner Reinhardt and go around the table.
Thank you. Well, I think I've already reported on a couple of things that were related to the legislature. The Ramsey County Library Board of Trustees met, and I think it's a very exciting time with the new director in place and looking at strategic planning and how we move forward there. There's also the Maplewood Library renovation and other things that are happening regarding the programming and so forth at the libraries. And I just am very pleased, and I think the library board, the new, I don't know if it's president or chair, I can't remember now. Anyhow, Steve Woods is really very engaged and really reaching out to our staff and making that connection a really good connection to what do we do as a county, what do they do as a library board, and how do we make sure that we are staying on track to move forward in a very positive way. So it's fun to go to them. And if there's ever any questions or comments or anything that you want me to convey, please let me know. I take the liaison job very seriously and am enjoying it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, Commissioner Carter. I'll turn to you. You can give us an update and share what happened at the press conference.
Thank you very much. We were just at a press conference with the county attorney, with the mayor of St. Paul, the city council chair, Amy Brunmoen, and the police department chair, or captain, I'm sorry, chief, duh, Todd Axtell, thanking Betty McCullum, our representative for District 4, for her support for a $900,000 grant, which will cover the engagement of the city and the county on behalf of all our cities together in a collaborative to reduce violence. Aligning the work that we are doing in our transforming systems together and together with our 911 response alternatives with community-based alternatives, which will be supported through this grant. So it's pretty important deal, very important for us that we ensure the alignment of all of that great work to the benefit of our community. So that's the focus, and Betty's done some great work securing as a part of her ability to direct funds for local solutions to Ramsey County for this work through the county attorney's office and together with our communities. We also celebrate that she is providing $2 million in order to replace radios in the city of St. Paul. We know how important that is, and I guess it's just in time because they're wearing out now and will not be usable for much longer. So it was a good event. There were questions about, well, so exactly what will this be used for? And of course, those responses are not yet there because we are working very hard to plan together with community. But we do look forward to those ongoing discussions and the engagement of the support together with community for that $900,000 grant. Part of it, we know, will cover the technical assistance that's being provided in order to plan forward, and the rest will be for the solutions in the community as coordinated together. And then I should also share, although I haven't opened my book, but last week, Commissioner McGuire and I were together in a children's collaborative meeting, and we were able to hear from the children's collaborative work that's being done toward the request for proposals for children's collaborative funding in the coming period. We were also able to just hear the work of the Children's Collaborative moving forward and then plan for the upcoming year. Again, I might say, hey, I have another thing to share as I open up my book and look, but thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Carter. Commissioner Reinhardt, did you have a comment?
I have a question regarding the radios. Is that just for the city of St. Paul? Okay, well, I hope
believe
that,
so, yes.
I hope that, because I know that the radios were all purchased kind of at the same time throughout the county, and we got a better deal for everybody in that. So I hope that even though the funds aren't going to the suburban police departments, I hope that we can, if they need something, that there's some way that we can get a better deal because of the bulk buy, basically. That's kind of a weird way to think about radios, but the technology and, I mean, you get a better price. So even though they don't get the funding, they'd still get a better price.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. Commissioner McDonough.
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say a few more words about the Brookings thing that County Manager Ryan brought up and go a little deeper. I've been on a number of calls with Brookings. Brookings actually reached out to us. They've been engaged in our community before, the Green Line early investments a long time ago. actually reached out, but I wanted to say a few words. And first, I want to thank the leadership of Director Becker. Because many times we get these things, right, and they can actually take us off our game if we're not careful. And every part of this, as we had conversations with Brookings, and I was on calls with St. Paul about, their interest in what this looks like, what we look through the lens of, does this enhance the work we're doing, the mission we're driving, the values that are important to us, and the plan we've laid out with our ARPA funds. And every time we ran that through that lens, the answer was yes. And I just want to read a little bit, one thing here, and then connect some dots, because it's important to do that. So, and we're a part of a cohort with Cleveland and Detroit. They call it a Metro Lab, but they assured us that they love counties and they're really appreciative Ramsey County's a part of this. How can local leaders organize their communities to invest in the long game of building the institutional capacity needed to create more prosperous local economies that advance inclusion by income, race, and place in sustainable ways? And that pretty much comes out of everything we're doing is driven by this statement from Brookings, and so it aligns really well. But connecting the dot to the earlier conversation we had about public safety, right, in the community, and I represent the east side of St. Paul, and it's just been a community in transition. When I was growing up on the east side, we had access to over 6,000 jobs that didn't require a high school education, between Whirlpool, Hams, and 3M. Good jobs, benefits, pensions. I went to work at Whirlpool 2 weeks after I graduated from high school. Those jobs are gone in our community. And so many people, not just on the east side, but in our community. And we have to understand the impact it has in our community. Wake up every single morning, and the only thing on their mind is, how am I going to survive this day? Yeah. How am I going to survive this day? Because prosperity and opportunity are not even a part of what they think about. There is just no hope for anything else other than getting through that day. And the work we've been doing, and you need to look at the long game, because we continue to address it by crisis, as we talked earlier in public safety. A quick fix to a crisis is lock up as many people as we think we can, get them out of sight, out of mind, and we'll be safer. That's not true. We've got to look at the long game. We continue to invest in crises every time when it comes to homelessness, but until we actually build affordable housing and opportunities for people to have a place to go, we're not going to solve it. We're going to continue to invest in that crisis spot that has no impact on those folks other than helping them survive that day, that moment. And so this work with Brookings, and I want to thank St. Paul, because the conversations we had with them about, is this the right thing for us to add to our plate? And our plate is full. And how can that advance us, both the city and the county? And as I said, every time we got to yes, working with Joanna, Deputy County Manager, Joanna was involved in this and ensuring that. So I look forward to this work, but connecting those dots is really important. I think every update we've heard so far, and we will hear today, connects those dots on the mission that we've chosen for this county and the values we've aligned for that. And I'm just really proud to be a part of this work here, because being a mission-driven organization that really focuses in where we've left so many behind for so long, and that's not acceptable for us. So I'm happy that we're a part of the Brookings work. Thank you, Lang, for your leadership in bringing this forward. Thank you to St. Paul and their willingness to commit. And the real focus on this is going to be the workforce component, and really focusing on youth, but the broader piece. Because without the opportunity to be able to be self-supportive, without the opportunity to be self-determined, you cannot move from survival to prosperity to opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner
Madam Chair.
McDonough. Commissioner McGuire.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner McDonough, and to the entire board, and of course all of our staff for this amazing work. It is indicative of all of our reports of how many people want to be involved with the work that we're doing. The Brookings Institute, we have the federal government that wants to give us grants so we can do this work. And so it's just, I'm joining you in being proud to be a part of this county and the work that we're doing moving forward. So thank you so much for that. I want to give a shout out to our staff who continues to be out in the community, doing great work and showcasing the work that we are doing. Keith Lattimore spoke at our Roseville area Rotary yesterday on our housing stability work, and it was great to educate the group about all the work that we're doing and the work that we continue to need to do. So we got to put in a plug for our community of care legislation and ask for all of those people to help us with our legislation on that. So that was, it was great to be able to have him be a part of that. Ted Schenecker is speaking tomorrow at our Roseville Business Council about the work that we're doing in our Public Works Department, and just he's been such a great supporter of our work there, and just to highlight all the amazing work that our Public Works is doing. Also, MELSA met last week. We had our new library director, Jake Grusing, was there now as a member of Ramsey County Libraries, not Scott County. So it was fun to have him on that call with all of us as MELSA moves forward. And the AMC Board of Directors met on Friday, and just to keep you posted on our effort to be a part of the Western Region caucus or the Western Region group. We did vote to do that and on a trial, a 3-year trial, and we are going to look very carefully at what benefits we might get as a state association of joining that Western Region, and we'll all be very diligent about what those benefits might be if we continue on after our 3-year program, and appreciate Commissioner Ryan. We'll appreciate Commissioner Reinhardt's due diligence on that as well, because she's very familiar with a lot of the issues that Western Region deals with. And we finalized our strategic planning session, our strategic planning work, and so I just want to give a shout out to the great work that AMC is doing and really moving forward to help all of us and all the counties in Minnesota with our work. And just to give people a preview, this Saturday is Waters Off. I know a number of us go to that on Saturday morning. This is where the pipe fitters gather very early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, to come together, and then they're dispersed out to all homes in the area that need work on their with turning their water, with assessing their systems to be ready for the spring and the fall and the summer. So.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was invited to speak at St. Kate's last week, and let me just say there was a lot of interest in our homeless work and in our family shelter and so forth. My office helped frame a letter, so they've got a good group that's going to be sending letters to the governor and to the legislature and the Senate regarding our work and our request at the Capitol for housing and dealing with the homeless. So I just want to say kudos, very interesting group and good advocates.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Commissioner Fredham.
Thanks. So, a few things. Last week I attended Restorative Circle training with the Dispute Resolution Center to learn about how to get involved in community diversion programs as a community member and circle leader. That was very exciting and grateful to learn more about those programmings and how to participate. I was also elected chair of the Community Action Partnerships of Ramsey and Washington Counties Board last week. So,
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, we are engaging on a lot of things right now, including searching for our next executive director. So it's going to be a big year for us. And everyone should check out last week's blog on the website about how fines and fees criminalize poverty, and they give us a shout out on the work we've done to eliminate library fines. So they're broadening the thought of how poverty is criminalized. And then I'm looking forward to a town hall tonight to discuss design options for Vadis Boulevard Trail design study. Last fall, I was able to go on a bike ride with Council Member Steve Rogers and Public Works staff to hear about their vision for this roadway. And one of the unique things about Vadis Boulevard and Vadis Lakes in particular, it's probably the only lake in the metro area that has no housing along it. So it's the only fully public view all the way around a lake in the area. So it's a great opportunity to open up trail structure infrastructure and provide more access to that. Much the same way we're trying to provide access to the river with River's Edge. So this is another opportunity to do it in Ramsey County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fretham.
One more.
Oh, yes, we're circling back. Commissioner Carter.
I'm sorry, I was just coming back to the table and.
Totally okay.
Yeah, I actually opened the calendar and looked at another week. So I was talking about children's collaborative. Please forgive me. I did want to celebrate that Commissioner Fretham has now become chair of the Community Action Program of Ramsey and Washington County's board, and also to thank Commissioner Matis Castillo for having held down those responsibilities on behalf of our board for this number of years, together with Commissioner Fretham. I wanted to share with you that these two have just done a marvelous job. We were able to say farewell to some board members also who've been holding down the board for some time together with you, as you two had entered a few years ago now. And everyone will remember Connie Ireland, who's ever served on that board. And so Connie is now going to be able to retire from the board. But she was with the state originally, and she did a lot of work together with us, as many of us will recall, as we were holding down our responsibilities. She came in and she helped us by providing support from the state and also just working to engage together with our board. And she's been on the board now for a number of years at CAP-RW, having retired from the state. And now she's retiring from the board. So thank you to Connie and to the others. But a special thank you to Commissioner Fretham. You've done a wonderful job of becoming a leader in that board and now as chair. And I look so forward to serving with you there. Thank you. And I didn't attend Children's Collaborative meeting last week, but I did attend a Children's Advisory for the state, a Children's Cabinet Advisory, and would just share with you that they are doing some really good work, and we're summarizing and gaining community feedback and the work that they're doing for early childhood, for children's mental health, for the focus that they have on whole family services and supports, and are lifting up throughout the state together with our counties. And I attended a Trust for Public Lands National Leadership. I want to mention that because they are just also doing some very good work. And in particular, I'm going to be working with the Healthy Schoolyards Committee, focusing on changing schoolyards from those places that can sometimes be off limits to our community to engaging in beautiful spaces for children and adults. So they've done some good work across the nation, and the Minnesota Advisory here in that regard, and I'm glad to be working with them there, and was with you at the AMC Board of Directors meeting, Commissioner, and forgot to mention that. A couple of NACO events too, or NACO committee meetings, Justice and Public Safety, Arts and Culture, which both Commissioner McGuire and I serve on as well. So thank you for letting me wrap my mind back around what happened last week.
We're glad you did. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. I just want to share two things as a chair's report. As you know, we are in the midst of redistricting, and we're coming to finalize the City Council of St. Paul, and other city councils have now worked or are in the process of ratifying their maps for precinct districts. And so our proposed maps will be released to the public tomorrow, and then we will have our public meeting on the 29th, so next Tuesday evening at 6 p.m., both at Plato in person or online, to just get responses and feedback from the community about those maps as we continue to move this process forward in a quick timeline for us. And then also a reminder that next week, since we are not having a board meeting on Wednesday evening, is the public release of the final redesign of Rice Street. And again, thank you to Public Works for many, many, many years of thoughtful engagement with our community and a really fantastic design that we can be excited about. We're going to adjourn now. We'll move right into a Regional Rail Authority meeting chaired by Commissioner Ortega, followed by our board portraits here in the chambers quickly, and then we have a day full of closed meetings today, both at 11, 1:30, and 2:30, a full agenda down in room 220. So we will move to the